Hello, my name is Priscilla Self, and I chose the artist Carolyn Davidson. Did you know that the slogan "Just Do It" was actually the last words of a serial killer named Gary Mark Gilmore? Well, as much as I love true crime, we won't be talking about that. We will be talking about the woman who created the actual original Nike logo design. So Carolyn Davidson was actually a graphic designer. She was mostly known for her Nike swoosh logo that she made in 1971. And although she definitely did have a couple more art pieces that will be shown later, she wasn't widely known for them. And this sole logo was her main purpose of why she went down in history. So originally a man named Phil Knight offered her a job to create this logo, and he didn't give her any inspiration or anything. She just pretty much came up with this wholeheartedly by herself. And this actually took her 17 and a half hours, which is kind of crazy because you would think it's like more of a simpler design. But she kind of used like a contrast of red for the sign and white for the background, symbolizing like red as victory, as she explained it, and as energy, and white as purity. And we'll kind of get more into that later. So for her technique, specifically for visual art elements, she focused on color, line, and two-dimensional objects. For color, she focused on red and white color schemes for her Nike symbol shown at the bottom. And again, she used red for a purpose of victory and energy, and white as purity and nobility, which again, we'll get into later. For line, she used two curved lines that met at like the two sharp points. For two-dimensional object, she used like an outline of like a shape pretty much, and then she just like filled it in. And then kind of at the top too, where you can see the trees, she used line there for the lines of the leaves to symbolize the trees. Even though you can't like look and specifically see it's a tree, you can see that the shadow of it, you can make it out to be a tree. So for principles of design, she used pattern, contrast, and rhythm or movement. And for those, for pattern, again, she used the two curved lines that meet at two sharp points. So that kind of just shows like a pattern there. And then the same thing with the tree leaves, she used a pattern to show you that there's trees. You can make that out that those are trees. For contrast, for both of them, she used the red on top of the white to show contrast in the Nike image. And then she used the black trees with the very colorful background showing like a galaxy to give that contrast. For rhythm and movement, she basically kind of like for the Nike symbol specifically, she makes you look in the direction that the swoosh is going. And it kind of gives you like a feeling of like accomplishment or satisfaction to show that the lines are coming to like such a crisp point. But overall, like when she began and she first created this Nike symbol, she used pencil for her like technique, I guess you could say. And then later on, she started going into more of like oil painting and stuff like that for most of her paintings, which you'll see like this one was an oil painting, and then the next one that'll be showed is an oil painting as well. So for her inspiration, she really based a lot of her images off of Greek mythology. She really used that as an inspiration, specifically this picture, which is a picture of the goddess of victory, Nike, which specifically was of the winged victory of Samothrace in Louvre, Paris. She was really inspired by them because this is kind of where it ties back in with that red and white. She felt that because Nike was a goddess of victory, she wanted to use red, which symbolized that to her, and white, which is what like Greek mythology like goddesses wore, was white to kind of symbolize their purity and stuff like that. And that's why she used those two specific colors for the Nike symbol. And this honestly resembles like the content of design, because it gives this simple like Nike swoosh design that she created like more of a deeper and fuller like meaning and like understanding of where like this all originated from and why the Nike symbol was so like important to her. So like her impact on society was kind of funny because her design was completely rejected at first. So her design was repeatedly rejected, but she honestly never gave up, and she kept fighting for it because she had faith, and she just knew that like this could become something greater. And it's kind of funny because the company owners actually literally asked specifically for anything else other than this design. They didn't like it. They didn't think that it was going to be good for marketing. They just didn't think that that's what they wanted to resemble their business. And in contrast, it actually became one of the most memorable logos, like potentially of all time. And it's funny because Phil Knight, the man mentioned earlier that was the one who gave her job, was also the one who rejected her design multiple times. He pretty much recognized her for her artistic talent by one, he gave her like a Nike swoosh shaped diamond ring to like recognize her for her artistic talent. And he also gave her 500 shares of the Nike company, which are now worth $500,000, which is pretty cool to kind of like give her that recognition because she deserves that, you know. And I think it's really important that she was recognized for how many hours and hard work she put into this design, because it really resembles like the contribution that she had to something so unique with such a successful and flourishing business, and is why she's recognized as an artist in history. Because no matter how old you are or young you are, this design will constantly live in your brain if you were alive during the time that it was created. Like anytime you see a commercial or anything, you think of athletics, you think of Nike, you think of this design. Like you can't think of Nike without thinking of the swoosh. You can't think of Nike just the same as you can't think of not thinking of just do it. Like the slogan, the design, and the company are all tied in together. And who's to say, maybe it wouldn't have been as successful as a business without this design. Who's to say? I don't know. But I think this is like, honestly, since it's one of my favorite brands, it's kind of cool to be able to dive so deep into the meaning, and like the simple artwork that we all know and resonate some type of memory with is like honestly really cool. And it's also cool to get to know the artist behind it and kind of take like this deeper understanding of like why it was created and what it means to them, and now what it can mean to us. And also being someone with a Greek background, it's kind of cool to know that her inspiration for this popular design was Greek mythology. I mean, Greek mythology is so beautiful. And it's just kind of cool to know that such a simple design actually means something so much deeper, and is why we need to unpack art, because things can be so much deeper than just on the surface level. And when you unpack it, it creates a deeper meaning for why the artist even created something like this, which is really cool to kind of think about. So yeah, that's my presentation on Carolyn Davidson, and I hope you like it. Thank you.